Otto is one of those characters who I feel like can only be played by someone with life experience, someone who has lived and who has seen things. At what point in an actor's career does life experience and age become more valuable than any acting class you could take?
That's interesting.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Mr. Hanks, good to see you again, sir.
Yeah. Hey, listen, before we get started, I'm just going to give you some professional advice right now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Kevin and Sean are below you. You're the cream of the crop, dude. Listen, it's no good to be the best shortstop on the team when second base and first base are essentially double-A players. All right? So lose them, find two other guys, save your career, dump them. You know what? A great podcast has to be Ricky, Lucy, and Ethel. And I got news for you. You got Fred and Mr. Mooney on there, and I think you got to change it around.
I was just about to pitch. What I'm hearing is someone wants a Hanks and Hamilton podcast. H&H.
Bang! Bang!
That's what I'm hearing.
There you go. We'd get there. And of course, I'm joking. Those other chuckleheads are just fine.
They're my brothers, and I love them. As I love you, sir, and I begin every interview by telling you you're my favorite actor of all time.
Well, that's very kind of you. Okay, all right.
So I'm going to be honest.
Really?
True story. No, Whitney knows. Whitney knows of all time. I have a framed picture of us in our home, and I have an abnormal obsession with Road to Perdition.
Oh, okay, all right. Proof. I'll take it back.
Well, to that point, I recently did a deep dive of a lot of your interviews, particularly old school junket stuff, all the way back into the 80s. And there's one question.
Be kind.
There's one question that kept coming up over and over again. So I'm going to take a big swing at asking you this. How long did it take for you in your career to start being annoyed at how often people asked you about being a nice guy?
I know. Yeah. Well, it's that's it's like saying, Tom, you often put on a pair of pants. What is it like putting on that pair of pants? I mean, do you approach putting on a pair of pants in a different way every day? I can only be this way. I guess, here's the mistake I made. I actually come into the interview process looking to entertain myself. I don't care if you get the answers you want or not. I just want to have a decent enough time, I just don't want this to be I don't want to have it to be a soul sucking. So I'm willing to just sort of like go along with the flow. I think the other part of it assumes here's the negative aspect of it. It assumes that I take my job lightly, right? And that I'm willing to answer questions no matter what they are. Sometimes they're opprobrious, sometimes they're dumb, sometimes they're prescient, and that's all right. But to be nice means that I think that to be defined as being nice means somehow that you come to work and don't make waves and don't try too hard and try to take it as easy as possible. And that is not the case at all. I remember a long time ago, I read if you like deep dives on, old things, Kurt Russell, when he was promoting Big Trouble in Little China, he started one interview and he just said, look, the last thing anybody wants to hear is an actor talking about acting. I just thought that is so refreshing, man. That is just so great. And, I could go along with that, but there is this sort of performance that one can do when you're talking about in this odd formula of promoting a movie that you're in and everybody has to do it and your job is to do it and my job is to talk about it, that just says, well, let's make this as pleasant as possible for each other and maybe every now and again tell the truth but not just enough of it. So being asked for 1,000 times, what's it like being such a nice guy? I don't know, because that's like asking a fish, what is it like to live in water? A fish doesn't know that he lives in water, and I don't know that I'm a nice guy.
You've been nice to me.
All right, okay. We'll see the rest of the interview.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let me ask you this.
We've easily got 4 minutes left for you to really screw this up.
Oh, and trust me, there's plenty of opportunity.
Bring it on.
Otto is one of those characters who I feel like can only be played by someone with life experience, someone who has lived and who has seen things. At what point in an actor's career does life experience and age become more valuable than any acting class you could take?
That's interesting that you should say, and I think it's the first time, whenever it is in an actor's career, that he says, no, I'm not going to do this. Now, look, there's people out there that are geniuses, and they learned how to say no from the get-go. They never took a job that they didn't have an instinctive, great thirst and hunger for. We can rattle off all kinds, Marlon Brando and Sean Penn, De Niro. There's all sorts of actors like that. I was so hell bent on the joy of doing performing and being somebody else. I don't think I said no to anybody for the longest time. But there comes a moment where you just say, I can't look myself in the mirror and not come into this incredibly passionate about creating something. And I've already done this, and they want me to do it again. There's all sorts of reasons to say yes. They're going to pay you a lot of money. You'll get to go somewhere. You'll meet famous people. You'll work with people that you admire. But if the story is not there, if the theme is not worth the examining by all the time I'd have to put it in, you have to say no. And I think somewhere in the line, when the moment I said no, that was the time when I think I had enough life experience in order to say, it's time to start. I want to examine the own bitter compromise in my own life by way of this opportunity I have is interpreting other people's lives. Somewhere around, when the second time I worked with Penny Marshall, and she came to me with League of Their Own and playing this broken down baseball player, I said, Penny, aren't I a little young to be a broken down baseball player? And she says, you're going to have to figure out how to do that. And I said, I got it. I can tell you what it is right now. And right there, it was a matter of, I have experienced a type of bitter compromise. I have experienced a moment where I thought, where am I and why am I here? How come I still have this great desire to do these things that I haven't been able to have an opportunity to do that? And that's, I think, in one ways, that's when you become maybe you take a big step towards being the artist that you sort of have always wanted to be.
I love that. I'm going to cut you loose on this because there is a long
Jake,
list of
sorry,
things.
Jake, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Sorry about that.
Did I talk too much?
Never, Mr. Hanks.
Jake, you're going to have to make, a silk purse out of that sow's ear.
Done. All right. I absolutely will. Mr. Hanks, I love you, sir. Thank you for always being so kind to me.
Peace and love, my friend. Happy
Appreciate
Christmas.
you. You too, sir.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.